Hey guys, goldenspat here. I wanted to make a video on Runaan's Hurricane because it's a really cool item that has unique interactions with a lot of things in the game. So specifically, I'm going to spend some time talking about what interactions actually work with it, and then what kind of scenarios that you might think work actually don't or have been debunked by Riot or others. So when I'm talking about what works, I'm going to break it up into three areas. The first being class buffs, the second being item interactions, and finally how it works with abilities and passives, specifically with a Vayne shoutout. So let's jump into class buffs and start off with Glacial. In this clip, I've got a Twitch with the Glacial spat item at the bottom, and if you keep an eye on the enemy volley bear in the top left, you'll see the bolt does indeed proc the Glacial stun, so that is confirmed an interaction that works. Next up, we have Berserkers, and the cone that Berserkers applies does indeed proc on the Hurricane bolt, and even more interestingly is that Titanic Hydra, which has a similar effect, also procs. So take a look at this picture where there's a Braum with a Hurricane, a Hydra, and a Zerker buff, and he's basically topping the damage on his team, despite there being an Olaf too, so very powerful. Predators instantly kill their target if they damage it below 25%, and the Hurricane bolt actually procs this too. So watch this slow-mo clip of the Renekton at the top getting hit by the bolt, and you'll see it kills him. Next, let's take some time to talk about items, and you already saw that Giant Slayer works from the previous clip. Hydra also procs the cleave, so let's look at Hush, Disarm, and Red buff, because they're all kind of the same class of item. So here's a Hurricane and a Hush on a Varus, and you're going to see that at this clip, if you keep an eye out on the Nautilus, it's going to get hit by the bolt and actually get silenced there, as you'll see. So definitely does indeed proc those kind of items. Next up, we have arguably the most contentious item with Hurricane, which is sho'jin. And to understand sho'jin, we first have to understand how basic auto attacks work. And in TFT, units are capped at gaining a maximum of 10 mana per auto attack. Some gain a little bit less than that, like 6 or 8. But a common question is, what happens on base auto attacks with Hurricane? Do you get extra mana? The answer is no, and you'll see from this clip, he's still only gaining 10 mana. Let's spend some time going through the different scenarios, and we just saw it with a base Hurricane, you do not get any extra mana. Similarly, with just a Spear of sho'jin, you get the item effect, which is base plus 18% mana after you ult. If you combine the two, you actually do get double the 18%, so you get 36% additional each auto. If you have two of them, it goes to the next level and you get 2 times 36% or 72%. And finally, if you want to be crazy, you can throw 2 Hurricanes on with 1 sho'jin, which actually has less mana gain than the double sho'jin scenario. So I hope this is helpful, because this in particular a lot of people ask about and I was curious about before testing. So I wanted to show off the most common case of this, which is when you have sho'jin plus Hurricane, and that should give you an extra 36% on each attack. So watch Varus in the slow-mo clip here. He'll get damaged by Cog's Hurricane bolts up to 15 mana, and then he'll gain the 36% to go up to a total of 51. So feel free to replay it and rewatch it. It's a bit hard to see, especially because he's getting damaged, but it's definitely working, and this is an amazing combination for any champ that needs a lot of mana, like Brand, for example. Next interaction with Hurricane that a lot of people wonder about is Iceborn Gauntlet. So this basically stuns the target after the spell is cast, and you might be surprised to find out that it actually does work, but not maybe in the way that you thought, and it's actually not very good, because if you watch Varus cast his ulti here and then immediately freeze the LeBlanc, you'll see that IBG proc is basically just consumed by the bolt, so you don't get any kind of extra benefits. It doesn't also apply to your regular auto, it just applies once to whatever the next thing is that hits, and in this case it happens to be the bolt if you watch the clip in slow-mo. Finally, and mostly for completion, we've got to do a shout out that Vayne's passive Silver Bolts does indeed proc, and you'll see here in this clip that it definitely works, and a very common case that most people know about. I'm going to spend some time talking about interactions that don't work that I've tested or researched, and the first one that comes up most often is Static Shiv. The bolts, unfortunately, do not apply towards the 3 autos, so no help here. The next is Last Whisper. The bolts cannot critically hit, so they can't apply Last Whisper. Sivir was recently just nerfed in a recent patch so that it does not proc her Ricochet, and Blade Master procs also do not work on a Hurricane interaction, which Mort confirmed. Finally, Azir's soldiers are spells, and they do not, take advantage of the bolt in any way. So, some cases that I thought a lot of people ask about or are interested in. So just to recap and summarize what we went through here, these are everything that works in terms of class buffs, items, and abilities and passives. It's definitely possible that I missed certain scenarios or interactions, so feel free to leave a comment below if there's other scenarios that you think people should know about, but I personally think this is an awesome item and it adds a lot of fun and depth to the game, so thanks for listening, and as always, this is goldenspat, so thank you.